രോഗമല്ല ഓട്ടിസം. പ്രൊഫസർ ഡോക്ടർ എസ്.ആർ. ചന്ദ്ര. പകരം വയ്ക്കുവാൻ മലയാള ഭാഷയിൽ മറ്റൊരു പദമില്ലാത്ത ഓട്ടിസം എന്ന വാക്ക് കേരളത്തിന് സുപരിചിതമായിട്ട് 10 വർഷത്തോളമേ ആയിട്ടുള്ളൂ. ദി സെന്റർ ഫോർ ഡിസീസ് കൺട്രോൾ ആൻഡ് പ്രിവെൻഷൻ ആഗോളതലത്തിൽ നടത്തിയ ഏറ്റവും പുതിയ അവലോകനങ്ങൾ പ്രകാരം 8 വയസ്സിൽ താഴെയുള്ള 59 കുട്ടികളിൽ ഒരാൾ ഓട്ടിസ്റ്റിക്കാണ്. ഓട്ടിസം അസുഖമാണെന്ന് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മാനസിക തകരാറാണെന്ന് വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നവരാണ് സമൂഹത്തിൽ ഏറിയ പങ്കും. അസുഖമല്ല, മറിച്ച് മസ്തിഷ്ക പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളുടെ വ്യത്യസ്തത മൂലമുണ്ടാകുന്ന അവസ്ഥയാണിതെന്ന് സമൂഹത്തെ ബോധ്യപ്പെടുത്തുവാൻ നമുക്ക് ഇതുവരെ സാധിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. ഈ കുട്ടികളുടെ മാതാപിതാക്കൾ നടന്നു തീർക്കുന്ന കനൽ വഴികളും നമുക്ക് അപരിചിതം. കുഞ്ഞ് ഓട്ടിസ്റ്റിക് ആണെന്നറിയുമ്പോൾ ആദ്യമുണ്ടാകുന്ന ഞെട്ടലിനെ മറികടക്കുവാൻ മാതാപിതാക്കൾ ദിവസങ്ങൾ മുതൽ മാസങ്ങൾ വരെ എടുത്തേക്കാം. പക്ഷേ വിശ്വസിക്കുവാൻ ഇവർ കൂട്ടാക്കാറില്ല. ഡോക്ടർക്ക് തെറ്റുപറ്റിയതാണെന്ന ചിന്തയിൽ കുട്ടിയെ പല ഡോക്ടർമാരെയും മാറി മാറി കാണിക്കും. ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഡോക്ടറെങ്കിലും കുഞ്ഞിന് കുഴപ്പമൊന്നുമില്ലെന്ന് പറയുമെന്ന പ്രതീക്ഷയോടെ. അടുത്ത ഘട്ടം പ്രതിയത്തിരയിലാണ്. ഗർഭിണിയായിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഭക്ഷണവും മരുന്നും കഴിക്കാഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് എന്ന് തുടങ്ങി സീരിയൽ കണ്ടിട്ടാണെന്ന് വരെ ഭർത്താവ് ഭാര്യയെ കുറ്റപ്പെടുത്തും. ഭാര്യയാകട്ടെ ഭർത്താവിൻ്റെ മദ്യപാനവും പുകവലിയും കാരണങ്ങളായി ചൂണ്ടിക്കാണിക്കും. ചിലർ പ്രസവമെടുത്ത ഡോക്ടറെയും സഹായിക്കാനുണ്ടായിരുന്ന നഴ്സുമാരെയും പഴിക്കും. ചിലരാകട്ടെ ഒരു പടി കൂടി കടന്ന് ഭാര്യയുടെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഭർത്താവിൻ്റെ കുടുംബ പശ്ചാത്തലം തിരയും. വകയിലേതെങ്കിലും ബന്ധങ്ങൾക്ക് ഓട്ടിസം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ സംഗതി പാരമ്പര്യമാണെന്ന് സ്ഥാപിക്കാമല്ലോ. പിന്നെ ചികിത്സ തേടിയുള്ള കറക്കമാണ്. ഡോക്ടർമാരെ മാറി മാറി കാണിക്കും. ആയുർവേദവും അലോപ്പതിയും ഹോമിയോപ്പതിയും യുനാനിയും ചിലപ്പോൾ വ്യാജസിദ്ധന്മാരെ പോലും പരീക്ഷിക്കും. ചികിത്സകൾക്ക് ഫലമില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നിയാൽ പിന്നെ പ്രാർത്ഥനയും നേർച്ചകളും അനുഷ്ഠാനങ്ങളും ഒക്കെയാണ്. അതിന് മതഭേദമില്ല. അത്ഭുതങ്ങളിലുള്ള ആ വിശ്വാസവും കെട്ടടങ്ങുന്നതോടെ മാത്രമേ കുഞ്ഞിന് ഓട്ടിസമാണെന്നും അത് രോഗമല്ല ഒരു അവസ്ഥയാണെന്നും അംഗീകരിക്കുവാൻ മാതാപിതാക്കൾ തയ്യാറാകൂ. അതിനിടയിൽ ചികിത്സയ്ക്കായി ലക്ഷങ്ങൾ നഷ്ടപ്പെടുത്തിയിരിക്കും. വേൾഡ് ഓട്ടിസം ദിനമായി ഇന്ന് ഈ അവസ്ഥയെക്കുറിച്ച് നമ്മോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നത് പ്രൊഫസർ ഡോക്ടർ എസ്.ആർ. ചന്ദ്ര MD.DM ആണ്. ഡോക്ടർ ചന്ദ്ര തിരുവനന്തപുരം മെഡിക്കൽ കോളേജിലും ബംഗളൂരു നിമാൻസിലും ന്യൂറോളജി വിഭാഗം പ്രൊഫസറും ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ഹെഡുമായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോൾ തിരുവനന്തപുരം ജില്ലയിലെ ഇടപ്പഴിഞ്ഞിയിൽ സ്ഥിതി ചെയ്യുന്ന SK സൂപ്പർ സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിലെ ന്യൂറോളജി വിഭാഗം മേധാവിയുമാണ്.
I am Dr. Chandra. I am a neurologist. I graduated from Madras Medical College. Then I worked in Trivandrum Medical College and later I shifted to National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Bangalore. And there I was looking after both the children and age. Pediatrics and geriatrics was my department in NIMHANS. I retired 3 years back. So with reference to children having a problem, developmental abnormality, it can be of many types. You see, parents will note that the child is not learning properly, not interacting, behavior is not all right. In that situation, there are so many conditions which can present like that. One, it may be just a mental retardation, or it can be a specific learning disorder, or very common is attention deficit hyperactivity syndromes. Otherwise, it can be autism. So first of all, we have to know what it is. Is it coming under any one of them? Primary mental retardation is an irreversible deficiency in learning normal things properly. This can be due to multiple causes. So that is one group. When there is an irreversible deficiency in learning efficiency, that is primary mental retardation. Next group of disorder is specific learning disorders, that we call as SLD. Specific learning disorder, the child is actually developing normally and many of the behaviors are all right, but they may have problem in writing, they may have problem in reading, or they may have problem in arithmetics. Those children are very easy to handle. The specific targeted training will improve the quality of their life. So that is the next group. When patients come with an aberrantly developing child, whether it is primary MR, second whether it is a specific learning disorder. third group is very common is attention deficit hyperactivity. We call it as ADHD. So how they will be? They will be very hyperactive, jumping, running, doing everything, but they don't have a focused attention. They are hyperactive, they have poor attention, and they are uninhibited. In the doctor's room or in a school, how they should sit in their seat, they will not do. That is the next group of problematic children, that is ADHD. And then next in this line is the autism spectrum disorder. So when we call a person as having autism spectrum, like the other three conditions I told, this also has got some specific features, then only we call them autism spectrum. So that is a disorder of social cognition. It is not due to a mental retardation or not due to a specific learning disorder. There is something called social cognition. That is a learned social behavior. We know how to interact with our neighbors, how to communicate verbally, how to understand non-verbal language. Most of the time we may tell a nice words, but you make some eyes and some symbols. That means the good word you are telling is meaning something cynical. So that kind of gestural language identification, all this comes under social cognition. So autism spectrum disorder is primarily a problem of socialization and social cognition. Under this there are several subtypes. So we call them as autism only by the age of 2 years or so. Till then, unlike the other conditions like mental retardation, ADHD or specific learning disorders, which will be evident early itself, autism spectrum is diagnosed after the age of 2 when social cognition starts. So these children do not play with their peers, they keep to themselves, they do not learn the human language, and they have got several types of motor activities which are not the common motor activities. Commonly we will play, we will run, that kind of meaningful motor activity will be there. These children will be doing repetitive, meaningless motor activities, and they do not tolerate sounds, light, crowd. So some sounds like whistling sound or cooker sound or fan sound, they are abnormally apprehensive. Light also they are very much frightened, and some crowd, they may not mix with the crowd. They prefer to be quiet, they do not establish any eye contact. So it starts later, unlike the other cognitive disorders in children, this comes later, and main problem is social cognition. So as sir told, this is a spectrum. So this is not one group, this is called autism spectrum. Some group of these children under this have normal intelligence, only thing that social cognition is defective. They are called savants. They will be extremely creative, they can create instruments, they can be inventors, or they can be very much wonderful in arts, music, painting, drawing, and they can be scientists also. Only thing, they may not interact properly, they keep to themselves. So they are called savants. Their savant syndrome is a highly intelligent, highly creative, autistic children who do not socialize. The main problem in autism is socialization or social cognition. The classical one is called Kennard syndrome. That is the typical triad. They have no eye contact, they do not develop language, they have got stereotyped movements. Like for example, we walk forward, these children might walk backward. We want to walk on our feet, they may walk on their toes or heels, side walk, and they do gyratory movements. They continuously play with one toy only. You give different toys, they will be obsessed with one toy. And this is the classical triad of Kennard syndrome, that is first autism disorder described. Second is this Asperger syndrome. They are very happy children. They are different from the classical autism in this is also an autism spectrum, comes under autism spectrum. The creative autism spectrum is savant, and the classical one is Kennard. Asperger is communication is there, but they do not understand social gestures. Somebody gesturing, the thumb up sign or thumb down sign or V sign or some sign language, they may communicate, that they will not understand. Otherwise they are able to talk. that is the Asperger group, do not understand the social gesturing. That is the Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome is a female dominant disorder. All other autism spectrum disorders are male dominant. 4:1 is the ratio, whereas Rett is a female dominant because it is not compatible with the survival of the male fetus. Male fetus getting the Rett gene will die. Females are born and they have got peculiar hand wringing movements, and they do this movement, that is the diagnostic tool. They do not have the, they can have attention deficit, they can have hyperactivity, they can have epilepsy, they can have mental retardation, they do not socialize, and they have this hand wriggling movement. That is the diagnostic movement, that is the Rett group of syndromes. Next we call it as cognitive disintegrative syndromes. Here all the features will not be there. They just keep to themselves, they are very quiet. They read they keep their books alone in a chamber. They are very much careful with their material, very quiet, not communicative, and no eye contact. That is the social disintegration disorders. Next group under autism spectrum is pervasive developmental disorder. Unlike I told the first group, all three features are there: no language, no socialization, and repeated motor stereotypes, whereas pervasive developmental disorder will not have all the features. One fragment will be there. They may just be not learning language, or they may just be not socializing, or just quiet, just playing with the same toy. So these 5 groups are coming under autism spectrum disorder. The most one is the intelligent one. So first we have to find out the cause is polygenic. So many genes, not single gene disorder. It's a polygenic disorder, and there is a strong association with schizophrenia, like major mental illness. So if there is a family history of a mental illness like schizophrenia, there is more proneness for autism in other children. And then there is also one autistic child is there, then there is a more chance. And there are epigenetic factors, environmental factors, which are like infection, inflammation, first trimester infection in the mother developing a serious infection in the first trimester of pregnancy. And sometimes this MMR vaccine was also postulated as a causal thing, never proved. It was considered that children who took MMR vaccine went into autism like features. So that provoked a group of epigenetic cause like infection and inflammation. That also might be contributing. So how this treatment part, we cannot make them normal, it's not possible. One thing, the savants can be trained, they become a creative genius, they can even be Nobel laureates, but they will not socialize. That's the savant group. Many artists, painters and creative genius are there in that group of savant syndrome. They have photographic memory. I have published a series of children with this. You show them some pictures, you just hold it for them to draw. They don't want. Madam, just show. Okay. 1 second. It is like a eidetic memory. We call it a photographic memory. They immediately reproduce that. That skill should be exploited. And other things is the focused training. Focused training for the defective skill. So that one is for the activities of daily living, bathing, brushing, toileting, taking care of themselves. That training is a must. Second, for socialization, we will say 2 kinds of training. One is taking them to nature, that is called ecological training. So plants, flowers, animals, gardening, farming, this is supposed to improve their communicative skill. They may be much more communicative in that setting. So instead of forcing them in their classroom learning and force something which they cannot learn, make them into these natural rehabilitative programs. Then we had that Sarabhai, Mrilanili Sarabhai, the wife of Vikram Sarabhai. She is one of the pioneers who did lot of work in this, and she introduced dance and music therapy. So they will be able to learn these things. They are processed in a different way in the brain, so that they can learn. And in ancient Indian literature, these Panchatantra stories, I am sure there are so many books, all of us know Panchatantra stories. Why these stories were created? It is said that there was a king, Shakti Pradhan, one king was there. This king had 2 children with a picture closely resembling autism. To train them, these Panchatantra stories were designed in ancient India. So one of the earliest rehabilitation process started in our country, and the evidence is the Panchatantra stories. So that is one ecological training, taking them to nature, develop the skill that is there and make them useful. Second, targeted training for independent existence. Then deconditioning this whistling sound or any sound, noisy environment they are afraid means repeatedly habituate them so that they understand that the safety of a cooker sound is there. It is not dangerous. Repeatedly exposed to suboptimal stimuli. And learning and other things depend on their IQ, because as you asked me rightly, they can have high intelligence, they can have normal intelligence, or they can be mentally retarded. Within this autism group, all this is there. So the low intelligent patients cannot be trained much. You only prepare them for behavioral control with medicines which are used for behavior management. Even though inflammation and infection is considered as causal, anti-inflammatory medicines are not as such recommended. And you keep them quiet by music and dance, take them to nature. So these are the various information that is available. Cure is not there. So first recognition, so it will help us to prognosticate. As I told, the 4 group of disorders. So what is what you have to recognize so that we can assign them to appropriate groups and prognosticate what to expect from that child to their parents, and develop the skill that is present, and facilitate independent existence by training for basic skills and the role of arts, music and nature based training.
Eye to Eye News, an eye for truth. Eye to Eye News സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ലാത്തവർ ഇപ്പോൾ തന്നെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക. നോട്ടിഫിക്കേഷൻ ലഭിക്കുവാൻ ബെൽ ബട്ടണും അമർത്തുക.